She say she's done with me, but it's not the last time. I love talking baseball, America's pastime.
Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy IAMSU. Today on Tapped In, we have a very important and special guest, somebody that was real instrumental in my career, like up until right now. So, shouts out to DJ A-Man, the guy right here.
We here, bro. Thank you for having me.
How you feeling today?
You know, I'm feeling good, man. I'm out here, you know, in your hood, in your house.
Yeah.
I mean, can we get this right here?
He wanted to base me with this particular image of when I graduated from high school. This is my graduation
Look
photo.
at that. That's the future of Bay Area rap right there,
from
man.
2007. This is a great time in life.
Shining.
Just got my braces off.
Young,
you know what I'm saying?
Young Sudan.
Yeah, so we locked in, man. So, like, tell the people about, like, where you're from, like, and what it took to get in the mix and be what you're doing right now.
I'm from, like, an hour north of San Francisco, Sonoma County, and small town, like, off the coast in the North Bay. And I started up there, and I got into, like, the hip-hop culture from my older brother because he was, like, a graffiti artist, and he introduced me to a lot of the music, but like also the culture, like that was very important, and I kind of like just fell in love with it. And my dad used to come to the city all the time, so every time I go to the city with my dad, like he'd let me buy a CD or yes, before I had turntables. So I'd like get all this music, and I remember like getting old Pete Rock and CL Smooth, like all the old stuff. And I remember like going back all the way back to like Africa Bambaataa and like the original stuff because I was really into the culture part. So that's kind of how I got into it, and then I started just DJing. Like I started doing parties and clubs and throwing concerts and doing all types of stuff up there, and just did everything I could possibly do as big as I could do it. And that's how I got down to San Francisco and on to KML, and then eventually down to LA and all that stuff.
So describe those concerts, like when you were throwing those concerts, like what were they called? And
yeah, so basically we were known for these concerts. We had like the longest running all Bay Area hip hop concert series. So it was all local talent. We did like 30 back-to-back sold out shows. It was like every month we had like 1,500, 2,000 kids coming to these shows. And it was kind of like right when the hyphy movement was hitting. So we kind of started, we had like some of the OGs like Mac Mall and like those cats and E40 and Short and Nicotina, and then we also had like the young cats that were coming up, like the Federation, the Frontline, you know, all those cats during that era. And it was big. Like it literally showcased what was going on out here, and like there's so many memories. Like I remember so many artists breaking out of them. I remember just so many like magic moments. Like I was telling you before, the pack. Yeah. The first time it was like Super Hyphy 13 or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but Too Short was on the show, and he kind of like stopped in the middle of his performance, and he was like, "Man, I got this new group of kids that I want to introduce you guys to." And all these kids came out with Vans shoeboxes. Yeah. And I literally had like no real idea of what this was, and I don't even think a lot of the people did at the time. And it was like it like as soon as that bass hit, it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? It was just like, whoa, like what is this? And they were going crazy. They were all on stage going crazy. And it's like I'll never forget that because like Lil B, coming from all that, and Young L and Stunnerman, like we watched them go from that to MTV. You know what I mean? And it was crazy back then. The whole culture of the Bay Area was amazing, though. Like there was so much support, and the lifestyle. Like everybody wanted to be a part of that. And it's like every strip mall you go to, there's a store selling hyphy clothes, music, everything.
Yeah,
it was crazy back then.
Like that culture was so crazy. I was like a real young teenager in that culture, and it affected me so great. But to be able to really go to the clubs and do all that kind of stuff during that time, I know that was probably insane.
Yeah, they call this. I mean, G-Eazy's even like, you know, they call this generation like the hyphy babies, like the cats that grew up on the hyphy movement, and it's crazy how much impact that had on so many people's lives out here, and it was such a good time. Yeah, like everybody was making money. Everything was popping, concerts, clubs, like everybody had mixtapes, albums, and it was crazy. People were supporting it. They were going out and they were paying for it. Right. And it was like the local economy was booming.
Definitely booming. Like that was a great time for Bay Area music. Did you host any artist mixtapes during that time?
Man, I've done a lot. I've done so much random stuff. I remember I did a mixtape with the Federation. They came to my house in Petaluma, like my dad's house. Yeah. And we were like in the room, and like Goldie Gold, all like, you know, all those cats.
The whole group.
They were in there smoking weed at my dad's house. They always talk about that every time I see them. You know, I remember like when your boy first came out, like we did some mixtapes with him. Man. Yeah, it was crazy back then. It was a good time, and you know, there was a lot of people paying attention. I mean, people have always paid attention to the Bay, but I definitely felt like at that moment, everyone was like, what are you guys going to do next?
What's the next move?
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question. Like, what made you start DJing?
Because I couldn't break dance.
So you was like heavy in the culture. Like, I was in love with the culture.
Yeah, I was into that. And then I was always into like electronics, like plugging things and unplugging things and like wiring, like, you know, all that stuff. So I think like being a nerd, you kind of like get into that type of stuff. And I think once you DJ and once you successfully do it, like rock a party or like in front, it's like a drug. Yeah. And it's like when you start, it could just be like you doing it in front of your friends, like 10 people at a house party. And then it's like, you know, I got to open up for Drake and Future this year at the Oracle, which was like 20,000 people. That's huge. So it's like once you feel that, it's like just from the bedroom all the way to a stadium or like an arena, it's like once you do that, it's like you're always going to chase that high. Yeah, yeah. So it's like,
and that says a lot about your work ethic, though, to maintain something for that long and for it to pay off in that way. Like, what would you say for people that are trying to DJ who may not have the confidence to do it? Like, what was it that kept you motivated to do it?
I think anybody that becomes a master at their craft, I honestly think that it's passion. Like, you have to have unwavering passion and dedication. Like, you have to be so invested and so about it that, like, nobody can tell you no. And, you know, I mean, you just got to follow through. Like, because you could do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could build the next Golden Gate Bridge if you really were persistent about it. Like, it's really just following through, because it's like 10, 15 years later, like, I'm here. You know what I mean? But it was because I never gave up. And every day I wake up and I just do what I got to do to, like, continue to chase the dream.
Yeah. It's super inspiring. Just once I met you and then I saw the stuff you did just from that moment on, it was inspiring. Like, dang, like he's really going in with the DJing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And I remember coming up to Hilltop in the beginning when HBK first, you know, kind of came on the scene or whatever. I remember going up there, and that was like what I was preaching to you guys. Like, in the beginning, I was like, nah, you guys can do this. Like, you can be on the radio. Yeah. Like, you can do this. Like, you can be on whatever websites you want to be on or TV channels. Like, that's really what I was trying to encourage a lot of the young artists at that time, back in like 2010 or whenever it was, 2011.
It was so far-fetched to us at that time, and you really just told us your story. And I was like, dang, for real? That's before I'd even been to Petaluma. Like, you feel me? Like, where I was performing at, we was performing in like Chinese restaurants and veterans halls and stuff.
Yeah. And you sold out Petaluma by yourself.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, so to go full circle like that, like, it's real crazy. Like, those Petaluma shows, like even the Young California shows.
Yeah, so Young California is basically, we based the anniversary birthday on November 19th. And
it's 3 days after my birthday. Very funny coincidence.
And we actually did the first show, because I knew how to do concerts, I know how to do parties, so that's what we did. We threw a Young California show. Yeah. And I remember it was like you and YG and Ty. I mean, there's just tons of people we had on the first couple shows. And like, we couldn't even sell 400 tickets back then. Like,
that's so crazy.
Because we were so ahead of it at the time.
That's crazy.
That like the kid, like people just didn't know what it was. And I was just trying to tell people like, no, this is it. Like, this is what it's gonna be. Like, this is the future. And now I couldn't even get all of you guys together to be on one show because you know what I'm saying. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy for real. Like the growth. Like you've seen artists come from literally nothing. That was a crazy time, and everybody was breaking at that time. And like you would take songs that I would literally make at Chiefs. I'd send them to you, and you would play it. You know what I'm saying? And that turnaround, like that was a crazy time. Like I want to talk about from like Blue Flame to when you picked when you helped pick the Bay Area freshman, and like what was that time like?
Yeah, so like around that time, like when we started Young California, I also was kind of helping M-Dub and Thizzler because I definitely felt that at that time there needed to be a home for all the content. There wasn't like an official home for Bay Area stuff. Like there wasn't somewhere specifically to go to see new videos or music or whatever the case was. And there was like 4 or 5 little blogs out there, but people just, it was kind of like on a hobby of them to keep them updated. But the cats at Thizzler, they really wanted to be that place. So they were doing their own thing. I didn't start it, like none of that, but I just I came up with the Bay Area Freshman 10 kind of concept off the XXL Freshman 10 and kind of like brought that to Thizzler to kind of bring more attention to what was going on and shine more light on up and coming artists in the Bay, because that's kind of like what we needed. With the Young California stuff, the Blue Flame stuff, Team Backpack, Thizzler, like everybody was doing it at that time, but it was like, how do you create this conversation that's going to put eyes on up and coming artists that should be showcased because they're dope? And that's kind of like how the Bay Area Freshman 10 thing came, and I think it ran for like 4 or 5 years. I ended up just handing it over to Thizzler like after the first couple of years.
What was so big about it is that the names got announced on the radio. That's what was like, wow, like, you feel me?
Yeah.
And when they brought it up, to be honest, I called Chief. I was like, man, I don't give a fuck about that list. He was like, just do it, bro. Yeah. And lo and behold, I made it on
Yeah,
there.
what was crazy is like when I did it, I remember just sitting in my house like on a laptop being like, I'm gonna do this. And this is, you know, I didn't even, I knew it was gonna be controversial. Yeah. But I didn't think I was big enough to create controversy at the time. Like I didn't know like
people were so hungry at that time.
What it was gonna be. Yo, it went crazy. Like we literally blew up. Like that was when Twitter was kind of like just getting active, and like we literally like were shutting it down. Like everybody in the Bay Area is so proud to be from the Bay Area, and everybody had an opinion, so it just went crazy. I remember people hitting me like, who are you to say who
I was on Twitter. I told myself, me and Chief was like, I'm gonna drop a song every day until they pick me.
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna
drop a song every day.
Cat started really campaigning, and it turned into something crazy. And I'm so glad that everybody participated in it. And I'm really glad that, like, you know, if you look at those years that we did that, like, I mean, look at that. Like, those were the years. It was Roach Gigs, Cray Sean, you, Sage, Neff, like all these people. You know, like it was like that community that the Bay, you know, the new faces of the Bay kind of came out of, and I'm not saying that the Freshman 10 made that happen or whatever.
It shed a lot of light.
It shed a lot of light and sparked the conversation of like, oh, who is this kid making music in his bedroom? And then that person's on the radio, or that person's doing shows, or you know, magazines are picking them up, and that was like a really big thing. And
it legitimized. That's what that did. More so than shedding light, it legitimized a lot of movements.
Yeah, and everything's about the proper introduction, I think. I think, like, with artists, with, you know, anything you do in life, it's about the proper introduction. And it's like, you could say, like, yo, I got the hottest song. But it's like, if someone else says it, it's like people take it more seriously. And that's kind of like what we were trying to do with that, you know, at that time.
Yeah, that was such a big move. And, like, so much, like you said, so much sparked from it. I remember that the Freshman 10 event. Like, and that was crazy. Like, all the rap crews convening. You know what I mean? It was just so much culture.
Yeah, it was dope, man. I have like a really good idea every year, I feel like, and it's like, it's always just because I'm always trying to figure out a way to, like, take things a step up and a step forward and progress. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then, like, speaking of progression, I feel like that's what Young California is. Like, it's like a new birth of a second wave of a movement. And then you expand and you go and bring that same brand and that same mentality to Hawaii and Arizona and Texas. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
what we were doing with the Young California thing is it was just basically like, I was at KML with kind of like doing the new music thing late at night, and we were playing all these records first. Like we premiered like the Gas Pedals and the Love, the Up record, and like E40's Function. Like we were premiering all these records, and that was an amazing time. It was so much fun. And I was just really passionate about all that, and I noticed that there, if I'm like this in San Francisco, there's got to be other people in these other cities that feel the same way. And that's really what Young California was all about, and how it started was, me going down to LA and linking up with DJ Charisma, because all these people were telling me like, yo, everything that you're doing in the Bay, she's doing in LA.
Yeah.
Like she's putting on YG and Ty Dolla $ign and, all these kids. It's like the same thing is happening. So when I linked up with her, I was really like, thinking to myself that the internet is breaking down all these walls and eliminating the translation time between not only just Northern and Southern California, but the whole world.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to like spark the conversation, open up the dialogue, and get these artists, producers, and DJs all in the same room and get everybody working together, because the West Coast had an amazing energy at that time. This is like right when Kendrick was about to pop. It was right when the HBK gang was popping up here, Ty and YG down there. And
that was a great time.
And it was like, once we kind of put everybody together and everybody started working together and we were there to support it and really make sure that it developed, the rest is history. Like that was the first time in hip-hop music, in the history of hip-hop music, that like LA and the Bay were on the same page with the same sound.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And it was, it changed the game for so many people.
I think it lifted everybody up. And it's always controversy like about who started what and where, but at that time, all that mattered was that we was young.
Yeah.
And that we was all trying to get rich. You know what I mean? That was it. That's the only thing that mattered. So like a lot of that other shit that people try to play in, like with the media, definitely tried to play in with that whole movement.
Yeah.
It wasn't about none of that. It was about that music and turning up. You know what I mean?
And the thing is with us, like if you know, those people that were really, involved and active at that time, like none of us cared about any of that.
Right.
Like nothing that had come before us mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been here. I respect the OGs. Like I work with the OGs like all the time. But like what we were trying to do with that generation was help them not make the same mistakes that everybody makes, and like really just expedite the process to success.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like a blueprint was made, and now we see other DJs like getting in the club circuit, going from the club circuit to radio, going from club circuit to being influencers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a crazy transition. Like, can you explain? I see you got the hat and the hoodie on. Can you explain, like, cause
another one of those good ideas?
Yeah. And how is that connected to your name?
Yeah, so basically, I always do like little collabs. I always want to do something creative. I'm always looking for like the next, cool thing to do for myself and for my personal brand. And I don't remember where I was, but I saw a Breezy Excursion like t-shirt, and this is a group of cats out of San Jose. I always try to do my collabs with like local brands. I try to support local brands. So I saw one of their shirts, and I was like, man, that shirt's dope. Like, it looks like something I would wear. And I was like, their logo is the best. It just says best. And I was like, well, what if I did the best amen, and it was the blessed?
Yeah.
And so I had, just opened up dialogue with them and kind of told them my idea, sat down with them, and they were like, we love it. So we decided to do a Black Friday drop like a couple years back, and it was just a black hoodie with the blessed across it, and they literally sold out in a couple hours.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's re-up.
Yeah.
So a couple months later, we doubled the order and sold out even faster. And then kind of like the rest was history. We got it on like, you know, 50 Cent rocking it, DJ Khaled, Lil Boosie was rocking
That's
it.
crazy,
Yeah. Like, you know, all these people started just supporting it because it's an amazing word. And at that time, you know, everyone says blessed now, but at that time it wasn't really played out.
Like, it was kind of like it was controversial a little bit to say blessed. Like,
yeah, it was like right there. It was just, you know, perfect timing, and it's one of those things where I tell people it's like you're gonna get positive energy anywhere you wear it, and I promise people, I'll give you your money back.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you wear this hoodie in a mall or somewhere where you're surrounded by people, somebody's gonna compliment you on the hoodie. Or they're going to give you just some positive energy and say something positive. And it's, you know, beyond hip hop music. It's beyond age, gender, race. You know, it's just a positive idea.
Everybody can relate to that.
Yeah, and tons of people have done blessed clothing. Like, you know, it's not like we're the first people to do it or whatever. But I really think that we did it so simple, so clean, and so cool. And then, you know what I mean? Like, we made sure that all our homies had it, and, you know, and the rest is history. Like, we sold thousands of pieces. Yeah, it's been.
But it's like your name is DJ Amen. Like, do you consider yourself like a spiritual person? Do you feel like God has helped you
like
get through something?
My parents, you know, they definitely raised me with, you know, with religion. But you know, that kind of like has all evolved as I've grown up. You know what I mean? Like, just becoming wiser and you know, just understanding things better. And I definitely, you know, owe all of this to a higher power.
Right. Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that this is not me. You know what I mean? I know that there's a plan set out for me. And I just think that, you know, as long as people do what's right and follow, you know what I mean, what you believe your plan is, you know, I think you can succeed in anything. And I think everybody has, you know, the same opportunities, but it's up to you to not mess it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always tell people that all the time. Like, I give thanks every day for I literally wake up and get to pursue my dreams, right? But there's a lot of work in it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of making the right choices. And really staying out of trouble, you know what I mean? Like, not blocking your blessing.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's like a key to longevity?
You definitely have to have a good head on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And always treat people with respect and how you want to be treated. And, you know, really go into situations knowing that you want to have a career.
Yeah.
You don't want to just get on right now. You don't want to just like hit your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, you don't want to seem desperate. That's
the
key.
It's
don't be desperate.
Yeah, it's really just investing in your brand, investing in yourself, and really just working hard. You know?
Yeah. Special mind. It took a while just to get it right. Spread my wings and watch me fly. She say she's done with me, but it's not the last time. I love talking baseball, America's pastime. Now I got the wave, they searching all day for me with a flashlight. Big dough, watch the cash fly. Whole world off my last hype.